Hey everyone, I hope everyone's doing well. Today I want to talk about script and package management. This is a presentation I've shared on the channel before, discussed about like how to implement and scale Dynamo. A lot of people do not think Dynamo scales very well. I disagree with that. At my current firm, we've had very good success with implementing Dynamo. We have thousands of runs on the same scripts consistently being used and people not having problems with it. So it does take some work to get it up to that spot, but just like any solution, you just don't create things and then just roll it out and just think everything's going to work. There's some management and some thought that has to go into it. And one of the tools we use to help manage our scripts and packages is this Python script. Here's a snippet of it. I've changed it a little bit, included some things to make it a little bit easier to use. I'll show you the actual script in a minute. It's been really helpful for me, and I'd like to share it with you as well, so you can download it from GitHub if you want to use it. You may have to adjust it, because one thing that this script does is it looks at the folder year and then returns a year in the column. So you may need to adjust it depending on your structure, but that shouldn't be that hard to do. So to go through this, it returns the file path, so where it's located, the year, the Dynamo version, which this is not as useful now that I've added the format column. The Dynamo version, the reason why that's there is because in previous versions, so 2019 and before, the Dynamo file was organized in, I want to say, an XML format, and now it's in a JSON format. So that's kind of what this is indicating, but now that I have the format field, it will tell us if it's JSON or XML. The node library dependencies returns the packages that are being used in the Dynamo script. This is very easy to do when it's a JSON format. When it's the other format, it's a little bit harder to actually get that information. And if I remember correctly, I can't even get that data, and I don't have any really old scripts to test. And I have got an example where I've taken every script that I've shared on the channel and I've essentially ran this automation on it. None of them were using the older versions of Dynamo, so I don't have any of those. But if in your firm, if you've got a bunch of scripts, there's a good chance that you may have some of those older ones, and you just want to identify those, because getting those updated sooner rather than later can be helpful, because then you can address any issues that may come up, any errors, anything that you may need to change in the script. Custom node descriptions. So if there's any like unique custom nodes and descriptions with them, it'll return that. The reason why this is here is mainly because of the XML file format, because I can get the custom node descriptions, I just can't get the package names. So this is one way to indicate that there's custom nodes in the XML Dynamo script. So if you see a description there, that means there's a package being used. Otherwise, there's no package being used. I haven't tested it like on a ton of different scripts like that, and naturally those are going to die out, because we can only go back to 5 years of Revit, and so 5 different Dynamos, and they're not going to be using that old file format. Python engine. So this is kind of important, because Python 2 is going to be going away. And so what this will do is tell you everywhere you're using Python 3, Python 2, so that you have to so that you go into it and update those scripts that are using Python 2. None. And then also if it's using both, because that can happen. You can have Python 2 and Python 3 in the same script. And then lastly, the format, like I mentioned before. So anyways, that's all I want to show in this presentation, was just that piece of it. So now I want to show you the actual Python script that I have built. And for full transparency, I've used this for many years. I've had this script built. It didn't return as much data. It returned like a fraction of it. Like I didn't have anything that was saying if it was JSON or XML. Also, like the custom node descriptions column. With ChatGPT, I took my original code, put it in there, and said, hey, I want to check for this, and was able to quickly adjust it and get it in used. A big reason why I never built it in before was I just didn't have the time and didn't really want to build that in. There was just so many other initiatives. But with ChatGPT, I was able to take the original code, put it in there, modify it in less than an hour, get something that worked well, and then use that. Just want to mention that that tool's there and can be really amazing, especially for little scripts like this that are kind of independent. And I think ChatGPT is really good with those kinds of things. When it comes to full-on development, I think it's not as good. But for little stuff like this, it works really well. If you've got something already, you can tweak it and add some extra functionality that you wanted to, but just didn't have the time to do. So something I did to test this is I took all of my scripts that I've posted on the channel. I searched the folders that I have, grabbed every single one, and then I copied it over here. So we'll see there's 83 scripts. And then just to make it simple, I actually did not do that. So let me do this real quick. Let me just paste in a portion of them over here. So we've got Dynamo scripts in 23, 24. This is similar. This is a similar structure to how I have it structured at my firm. And then the output is here. So I've already ran this, so we'll actually just look at this one. So I'm going to go ahead and just open that real quick. And then over here, let me kind of fix this up. Okay, I'm going to move that out of the way for a second. And then this is the code here. So it's not a whole lot of stuff. And what's neat about this, one of the things that I added to this that I didn't have before was whenever there was an XML format, I didn't do anything with it. I would just ignore it. But now what we do is we recognize if it's a XML or JSON, and then if it's XML, we just grab different data. This outputs a CSV file that returns all the data that I showed you in the presentation. All we got to do is import our libraries, and then if we run this will just prompt you for a path. And then if I go into this path, I should be able to just grab this, paste it in there, click enter. That's going to return the path. So I set that up mostly because like the one I have at my firm, it's just set up where you can just run it. But I put that there for anybody that wants to download this. Then you could just like run it and then paste your link in there. You can always change this after the fact, but you can paste it, and then that way it's just a little bit easier to use. And then if we do shift enter, this will run, pull all the data, and then dump it out to Excel. So we can see there's no errors. Now I'm going to jump into this Excel that I have open already, and then we can take a quick look at it. So we can see all of the automations that I've publicly created and shared with everybody. And then we can see all the information related to them. So there's a ton of them that are using Python 3. There's some that are using Iron Python. We can see there are even scripts that are using both. We can see a lot don't have any. We can see the different packages that are associated with them. Oh, here's one that's returning custom node description. Here's another one as well. And you can see I don't have any that are not JSON format, but when you run this, you will see that if you have any, you'll be able to find those really quickly. So one really powerful thing about this is like with the Python 3 update. Well, I can go through and open up every script, and I've heard people tell me that that's what they were going to do, was open up every single script, see if it worked, and then kind of go from there. And I don't think there's anything wrong with opening up every script, because that's just a helpful thing to do, is open it, test it, run it, and just see, make sure everything works correctly. But also, if you have an environment that's already set up and you've done a lot of that testing already, then what this does is allows you to spend your time a little bit more efficiently. So we know Python 2 is going away, so now I can see immediately what scripts are being used here that have Python 2. Then I can go in there and fix those scripts. I can also see where they're both being used, and I can go in there, update the Python 2, and make sure that works properly. Also, with the .NET updates, like if packages don't update when that gets rolled out, then there's going to be an issue. And so here I can see all the different scripts that are using those third-party packages. And then I can make a decision on that if I should, go in there and recreate those, make them more just Dynamo native, or even use internal packages a firm has created, and just use that and manage that instead of being dependent on these third-party packages. Because you have that data there, you can now make that decision and be a little bit more efficient with your time, especially when you have hundreds. Like at my firm, we have hundreds of scripts, and so by running this, we can filter it and look for the ones that may be causing issues. Another really cool thing about this is Dynamo is meant to be a low barrier tool, right? So I don't think everything needs to be built in Dynamo, but it is an option. It's a really powerful tool, and it can get folks into programming and computational thinking without, say, learning how to do C# and build add-ins. It's a wonderful tool for the general, public, or the general design team member. And one tough thing for people is if they open up a Dynamo script that's existing, it's in your library, and it has a bunch of Python, it makes it very hard for that person to troubleshoot and to learn Dynamo. And so what this also does is it tells you, there's no Python in this, and also there's no third-party package. So this is totally a native tool. This is a default Dynamo script with all native functionality. There's no third-party stuff or any Python scripts in there. There may still be code blocks, but there's no Python, and so if you open it, it might be an easier experience for those designers. And I bring up that example because I have designers that are doing that right now, where they're getting into Dynamo, they're trying to fix scripts, and they're riddled with Python. And I love Python, I use it all the time, but it does make it tough for people that don't have that skill to actually troubleshoot and get into Dynamo. And the big benefit of Dynamo is that it's low barrier. It's meant to be easy and meant to be a tool that can be taken, you can take an existing script and adapt it for your specific needs. And so the more Python that's in there, the harder that kind of becomes for the designer. So it's just something to keep in mind in general. But anyways, now that you have this, you can say, hey, designer that is new to Dynamo, check out these ones in our library and look at them and see how they work, and then learn from it. It has no Python, so you won't get overly confused by that. Also, maintaining a huge library can be a huge technical debt. When you build stuff in native Dynamo, anybody can pick it up and possibly troubleshoot it. So there's a lot of, even this week I was on a call where somebody was using Dynamo and they were asking about troubleshooting it, and they said, hey, this is a wonderful tool, somebody built it, it just doesn't work in certain situations. And they showed me the script, and it had 10 Python nodes in it, and it just made it really tough for them to troubleshoot. And so again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a consideration. You got to think about, how is this script going to be used? Is it something we want people to be able to adapt to use in certain situations, which is generally, I think, a good use case for Dynamo. You want it to be easy to adapt and to use, because a lot of times you're not going to be able to catch all of those cases, all of those unique variables that may come up on a project, and you're not treating Dynamo as this big software task and managing it and getting tickets to add new features and stuff. And I guess that kind of depends on your setup and what the Dynamo script is, but typically it's like it's out there now, it's there, use it and adjust it if you need to use it on a project that it doesn't work on. So anyways, that's all I've got for this video. Not much, but I wanted to share that and share some of my thoughts. I've had very good success with implementing Dynamo and scaling it. We have lots of people doing some really great things with it. This is one part to help manage that environment. There's other pieces as well that I've discussed on the channel before. But if you have any questions about it, if you're struggling at your firm, let me know, because I'd be glad to talk to you about it. Because it's really not that difficult, and I think Dynamo is a wonderful tool to get more people involved and not less. I get the whole idea of learning C# and learning those tools. They're wonderful tools, but they are far disconnected from your typical designer. And Dynamo is a great way to bridge, that gap and to give people that computational thinking skill that they may not have had already or before. So anyways, thanks a lot for watching. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one.